Fifth game of the series, Fnatic and Tricked 2-2 apiece. We are one game away from crowning the winners of the NLC and awarding that European Masters group stage slot to our victor. It has been a wild series, honestly. Fnatic looked like they had every single base covered across their first two games, and then something went wrong in that third game, and Tricked have bounced back in a meteoric way. We're into draft. This is the most important part for both of these teams from what we've seen over these four games. Let's see how it goes.
Interesting. So Trick back on blue side here again. So yeah, that's going to be interesting.
Fnatic chose red, by the way. You did ask. So Fnatic chose red because they lost, I believe. So
yeah. Okay. So that does make some sense, but that also gives either the Sinsao first pick over to Trick if it's not banned on Fnatic on red side, or else they can just try and overload it completely by saying we're just going to leave all the broken open. So Thresh, Sinsao, Viego, whatever you want, you can just leave the whole deal open.
I just want to see if Fnatic will opt to ban the Caitlyn away this time, because I don't think it's a champion that can be stolen away from the Voxne, because I don't necessarily rate it as high. It's just that the Voxne feels super comfortable in it. It fits in the way they want to play the game, the front to back, so it just works for them. And I wonder if Fnatic will have to force their hand on that Caitlyn ban just so they can get the Voxne off of something that's been covered for him for 2 games straight.
It's going to be interesting to see. Fnatic, clearly, if Zinzao's not banned, may have to think about that. Thresh first pick is definitely in the realms of possibilities for Trick. That has been actually a really big pick for Lucky over those, and I think it was a really influential pick over the last 2 games. It also makes Caitlyn a little less safe, but here we go.
I'm just gonna say, like, I just feel like you grab the Sinsao here. The Thrashes are already out of the way. Grab the Sinsao. You can always have a Lulu to pair it up with if you want to. It's not gonna have the same value for Fnatic if they just blind pick the Lulu. And you can still pair a support up with Caitlyn if you want to later down the line if they pick anything here. But this is super curious to me. It's super peculiar. If Trundle has been rated very highly between these two teams now, and you're just giving over Lulu Sinsao to the side of Fnatic now, it's actually super interesting to me here.
I would not think that Lulu was gonna go to the side of Fnatic Rising, but I really like this much more. So they're putting Bean on something that he's exceptional on, which is the Ezreal, and something that he can solo his lane very easily with. He can stay underneath his tower, he can farm from distance, he can very easily be slippery in fights, and I think this is Maxi's time to shine in this particular game. They're going to have a roaming support on the side of Rux. They can very easily grab the Leona, they can very easily grab the Nautilus and sort of roam around the map together with Maxi onto that Zinzao. Again, I need to see a mage coming out of Deo. I want to see that Zinzao facilitated from his mid lane. I would love to just see the Orianna or the Ryze into that Syndra. Like, you need something with pushing power.
Well, already from the comp that you have here in Trick, they have a lot of good disengage already in the team. You get the scatter of the week, you have the ground, you can play around with the pillar, and you get the buster shot from the side of Tristana. So right now, if Fnatic come in with only one singular dive, it is actually quite easy for Trick to disengage this one. But now, with Trick no longer being on red side and no longer being able to ban the Twisted Fate in the second ban phase, it just looks like Fnatic, they're going to grab this one up for themselves, and you cannot respond with a Silas pick to keep it open in a side lane either. So right now, it just seems like we're either going to be having the Tristana into Twisted Fate or the Syndra into Twisted Fate combo here.
That's the Kennen ban. Do not want to see that again here for Fnatic Rising, and not comfortable picking it up on that fourth pick on their red side after we get through. And I'm wondering whether Pride is going to have, obviously you want to keep Pride in the situation where he has a counter pick, so taking away that Kennen makes a lot of sense here. Now Tricked, where are they looking to ban out? Ban out some supports that work, or are they going to start to focus out top lane picks? Because they haven't picked up their own support, maybe. Obviously we know Trundle can flex, but it is a Tax's speciality, so I imagine that's going to the jungle this time round. So Camille and Kennen are banned already, so definitely some top lane focus here for both these teams.
Yeah, so I think if you start betting away some of the supports, Fnatic will just fourth pick support anyway, probably, and you can get the counter pick yourself on Trick. So they don't care too much about the support pool being trimmed, and if they just start banning top laners away, that realistically 5 pick that could come through from Fnatic won't be as dangerous either. So right now, majority of top lane champions have just been removed, and because of this, Fnatic's opt in to make the adaptation and saying, okay, so many of these champions are away, let's just grab in the Gnar. It's comfort for pride, and there's not a lot of counters left. Jace gone, Kennen gone, Renekton, which is obviously still going in favor of Gnar, but Wukong and Camille, for example, gone as well. So just super easy blind pick for them there up towards the top side.
Again, I'm thinking Gragas, Mordekaiser, Olaf, Mundo, they all do great on a side lane. I wasn't expecting the Malphite, but they all do great in a side lane, especially when a Twisted Fate wants to come over. I don't think Malphite really fits the bill, but where he does fit the bill is on the engages, disengages, and also when you see the Twisted Fate coming in, you can just insta-ult on him and stop him dead in his tracks. Now, I'm wondering whether they're going to choose to go with the Leona or the Nautilus right here, because I feel like whatever Trick chooses to pick here, Fnatic will reply with whatever is up and available. They're going to choose to go with the Braum. It is a little bit questionable for me, just because you're not necessarily playing with too many melees. They only have 2 melees with the sort of Fnatic Rising so far, and you're playing mostly a kiting game for the sort of Trick with the trigger on the Malphite for the re-engage. It's not Trick bread and butter. That's where I wanted to end up.
Well, it's the Rakan lock-in here. We've got about 60 seconds before we get into our final game of this best of 5, the final game of the NLC as well. Our playoffs come to an end here. We crown a champion at the end of this game. We send a team to the European Masters group stage. Gulborg, who are you favoring? Just based on the draft, it has been so influential. Who are you favoring going into this?
I actually don't have that clear cut of a understanding of how they function into each other this time around, because on one side, if Rakan have an easy time against the Braum, but then has a harder time into the Syndra, I think for Fnatic, it's just about opening up the map, playing skirmishes on a global scale when you have the Xin Zhao and you have the ability to join from fights with Deo. Like, you need to open up the map here. I think if you go into too scattered of a team composition from Tricked here, they have a lot of good disengage, they have a lot of good team fighting tools, and it can be very tough for Fnatic to play. So you want to spread out as Fnatic. That's how I see their win condition.
Yeah, I will agree here. I am really digging this Fnatic Rising composition. I feel like everything is put onto Max's back. The Rakan, the Twisted Fate, they're all given to him, so he can carry the game with that. And most likely they're all going to play towards the top side as well. So I feel like Bin is left out of the question here. Unfortunately, on the Ezreal and on the other side, they have a lot of prior mid lane. So they can take the Syndra and they can go anywhere they want on the map, especially in these river skirmishes.
Well, guaranteed final game of the NLC here. At the end of it, we will have a winner. We'll have someone crowned as the champion. Going to hand it over to Hippo and Orcs for our last game. Take it away.
Much, guys. We're getting ready to go into the 5th game. And like I said earlier, playoffs have gone every game. In the entirety of the playoff bracket, we've gone all the way and tricked the mental fortitude to pull this back from 2-0 and a very, very dominant 2-0 from Fnatic to then start this reverse sweep. They are 1 win away from finding the reverse sweep versus Fnatic and buying themselves a spot in the group stages of the European Masters. And Fnatic, it's on them to bounce back from 2 devastating losses. I definitely think that the draft is better for the side of Fnatic this time. It's not as, dominant as what they had in the first couple of games, but Orcs, I really want your thoughts on these drafts in this game to round us out.
I think it's an interesting one. I think the big thing for me is the power of this Syndra and Trundle in unison, because Syndra is going to be really strong at finding priority. Trundle really good early skirmisher and can go toe-to-toe with Xin Zhao. And I feel like Fnatic Rising have to play this early game better than Tricked, because you have the Twisted Fate, you want to free him up to play to those side lanes. You have a safe bot lane, but I just feel like if Trick get control of this mid-jungle matchup and they lean that pressure bot, I could see Ezreal Rakan having a very bad time. Whereas Fnatic Rising, you have the side lanes to play through, and particularly you can lean on top, shut down the Malphite, make things easier. But I think that's important, because if you get to team fights and Trick are even or ahead, I think it's going to be hard to deal with them. Their front to back is just absolutely excellent. And we've seen they know how to play these front to back compositions.
Well, we're on to the Rift. Things are going down everywhere, but defensive lines are getting drawn not too deep, but not too shallow. I don't think we're going to see any cheesy invades to start this game off. I think both teams have probably been playing on high alert right now. This is what we saw actually in that final Fnatic game versus Singularity. Was in a very explosive series for the first 4 games, and then Fnatic really took their foot off the gas going into game number 5. Now, I don't think this comp allows them to take their foot off the gas, though. So we'll see what they decide to do.
I really hope, because they're going to have Prior bot lane, they're going to have Prior mid. I really hope to see them free Lucky up. Lucky goes mid, they annihilate the Yor, and then as soon as he's shut down, they can lean it back towards bot and really apply that pressure. Bean and Rux will kind of just be trapped in the tower and zoned off it. That is the game plan for Trick. And I think if they execute on that, they should be in a comfortable spot. Whereas Fnatic Rising, more about picking their fights, more about unleashing Dio on the map and using that TF to sort of set up plays. That's what I'm kind of looking for. And also, if you lean topside, Malphite, you can deal with quite effectively in the early levels. Pre-6, it's pretty straightforward dive.
Well, blue buff start here for Maxi. Red buff start for Taxa, which does mean that both of these junglers will be on the same side of the map, most likely, for this crab start, as Taxa just has to place a little ward down and actually just going to barrel towards his blue side, so not doing the full clear. And Paulson, really nice job to get that shove in to make sure Taxa's able to sneak through.
Where's that?
He knows what he's done. That is an amazing emote. I've never seen that.
I've never seen that either. It's a banger. Yeah, it's an interesting one because it's going to put them in a position where it's actually kind of hard to track where Taxa is. And Fnatic Rising, if Maxi does step out of his jungle, they're going to have decent vision to suggest where he is. This does mean that Taxa is going to be in a better spot because he started bot side, paths up, grabs his blue, and now he's going to end up on the bot side of the map for the scuttle. And that's important because he has prio mid and bot, right? Quite heavily. That is the side of the map you want to end up in.
They will actually loses a lot of farm under the tower. I don't think he actually got any of that. He's got 5 CS to Paulson's 12. And he's just getting hard shoved in and hard harassed by Paulson.
Honestly, missing CS on TF actually is even worse than any other champion because your passive gives you so much extra free gold on CS thing. And the way you got to think about that is budgeted into your kit, right? The strength of TF, and when people pick him, part of the fact is that extra gold generation. If you're missing farm, you're losing out more than other champions would because essentially a portion, every CS you miss, it's like, okay, well, your passive negated, your passive's negated. So
yeah.
They are definitely not having a good time here, and it's expected, right? The Syndra is so strong, so heavily contested in the current meta because he achieves prio so easily. The reduced mana cost and the Q a big factor in that.
A massive shove coming in as well for Tricked on the bottom side of the map. Now, the one lane that is going in their favor is this top side. And you can see Maxi sniffing around here, although I think Madly's a little bit too heavily pushed to be able to contest that. But Maxi, they're going to start up the crab, so you can definitely tell that Tricked are playing towards their stronger side of the map, this bot side into obviously the mid. While Maxi leaning a little bit more towards that top side for now. We'll see if they can, either side can find a punish on these sides of the map. But for now, I think Fnatic will just accept the weak side for Bean and Rux down here.
And it's why you pick House of Vulcan, right? You have so much safety in the bot lane. And Braum, Tristana, they're very difficult for them to actually punish you. There is windows, like if you jump in, use your mobility, they can jump on you and like stack up the Braum passive. But if Bean and Rux don't want that to happen, it never will happen, right? If you jump forwards, they can jump out and then you can just sort of slow play it. So they should be pretty comfortable at just holding up. And obviously we talked a little bit before how this is the lane that is going to go favorable for Pride, but he has this big wave stacked up and it's not going to get capitalized on in this situation. So Madly going to be pretty comfortable just to pick this farm up and then again keep playing for that level 6 point where even though at level 6 the trading doesn't like drastically get better against Gnar, it's the fact that at level 6 you have the gank setup and just the ult pressure, you're more relevant in skirmishes.
You also have an element of safety as well. You think of Malphite as the engaged champion, but can't get away from a scary 2 versus 1. Madly does have to be a little bit careful because Pride is really starting to stack the damage up into him, but Madly will just go for the reset. He has the teleport, so he had to rejoin onto the rift fairly quickly as Pride just wants to try and hard shove him one last wave before he gets himself a recall off. Has built himself a bit of a CS lead up. And we can see Dayon now at this point starting to claw back some of that CS deficit that Paulson had started to grow down there. Bot lane's pretty okay in the farm department as well. So Fnatic, it's not all doom and gloom. It was definitely a rough start, and it's been definitely a rough tail end to these grand finals for them. They came out the door swinging, but they all now have to be very, very careful. One good orb into a scatter, into a pillar could be a dead, twisted fate, but buys the space, recognizes what Paulson's looking to do, is able to get away to safety. Cloud Drake's the first dragon up. So we'll see who puts priority on that. I believe Fnatic have had 100% Dragon first Dragons this series. Can't remember the last game now. I'm having a brain fart on that one.
I'm not actually certain. It might have actually... No, I think it was them. Yeah. I'm pretty sure it was. I'm pretty sure it was because they had control the first two, and then those two, it was very much...
Yes, they did.
Fnatic at the early Dragon control and Trick try and stop that. But yeah, it's been a slow start, which is, I think, okay for Fnatic Rising. I was a bit more concerned about their mid jungle and how they'd handle things, and now they can start to actually contest a little bit more. They have the Destiny as a big tool to play with, and you kind of see bot lane, they jump in, Fnatic jump out, but now they're looking for the re-engage.
They've got that Destiny. Then Voxney is going to get followed up with. Actually, the gold card's eaten by Lucky. They get a whole bunch of damage on, but the Ignite will not tick Lucky low enough. That Unbreakable could have saved Voxney's flash. I don't think he was going to die, but it definitely saved his flash.
Yeah, definitely meant they could just navigate out of that one. Lucky was close, but he survives, but this now means that Fnatic Rising will be rewarded with this dragon. But we see like a big wave just being, what, Deo, go mid. You don't need to be here, right? He's just kind of hanging around. He's missing out far mid now. We said that gold lead kind of closed. He's 16 CS down again. Obviously, we'll be able to pick up some here on this reset, but yeah. But I get a dragon. Great. They maintain the 100% first dragon rate for the entire series. But again, we've seen how it's not always a massive factor. It's going to be that Infernal or that Ocean. I think either could be pretty valuable here. But it's just been a slow game so far, and Dejour using the Destiny, not really getting anything off it other than Summoner's bot lane. It does mean that now Fnatic are waiting a long time before that window opens up again. And there's that a trick, you know, Paulson. The mid game for Syndra is really strong because you get a bunch of level-based spikes. Level 6, you get your ult. Level 9, your Q's max, 25% extra damage. Level 11, 2-point ult. Level 13, you max your second ability, which also gives an extra benefit. So Paulson's got a very smooth curve where he's going to be super relevant here. And really for Twisted Fate, it's about finding advantages outside the lane and away from the Syndra.
Well, just about able to dodge away on that scatter as Deo now starting to get the shove working in his favor. Has got his support of his tail end, so it should be a-okay. Riftel's going to get started up by Tricks on the top side of the map. Trade off for the dragon. It's a little bit slow to the punch, but because Fnatic went for resets, they weren't really able to move around the map and set up for this one. So see if Trick can use it, because last game, I believe they didn't actually get to use the charge on the Herald they got. Because Fnatic will be spotting it out a little bit too slow unless Maxi can find the smite. Can't do so. Finds Taxa though. We might be in for a little bit of a skirmish here. Finds the knock-up. Rux dashing over. Has that battle dance available as Maxi jumps in. Gold card charged up and Taxa will go down first. Blood to Maxi.
Yeah, so Herald's secured by Tricked, which they can definitely be happy about, but they do lose that first blood. Maxi's now going to steal away some jungle camps as well, so definitely a nice position, especially denying that blue from the Pulsar at a point where the Syndra is so strong. Good to see Fnatic challenge on that one.
Now, they did still get the Herald, so there is still an answer out on this for some of that money. We'll see where they decide to use it. Top lane is starting to be a real problem as Pride's taken 2 plates up here silently. Pretty strong, and obviously it's this Demolish Proc which is doing oh so much work for him. Madly looking to try and zone him away, but Pride can just harass him underneath the tower of his minions. And Madly looking for the fight. He actually does have that ultimate. Pride just have to be a little bit careful.
Ignite as well. Pride, that's why Pride didn't get the Demolish, because he was really scared about being ulted under tower with the Ignite, which is a justifiable concern.
Yeah, I agree.
So just managed to nip out of that one.
If you're gonna kill Gnar, it's now when he's not Mega. That is your window as the Malphite.
I mean, anytime he's on the tower feels like a pretty good time to kill him, in all honesty.
True.
But yeah, I mean, this is just, it's what's going to happen. The Gnar has a laning strength, but the big thing with the Malphite is that you have that massive ult that's also on demand. That is the one issue that comes with having a Gnar, is that like you have to play around the Mega. But fortunately, you have hard engage from your team in terms of the Rakan to kind of set you up. So they play for the Mega, hard engage comes in, there's the fight initiating from that one.
I guess the difference is Gnar can quite happily throw ult whenever he has it available to him, because the cooldown is quite short. Madly, you know, it's on a relatively short cooldown, so he can use it, but I mean, definitely a little bit more like Pride can use it to wave clear and things like that. Madly, you're not really going to want to wave clear with a Malphite R.
Yeah, probably not.
A lot of people coming in. They've got the Destiny to then know that this is a fight that looks to break out. And Scout of the Week goes a little bit wide. Destiny doesn't get pulled by Dayor. Decides, oh, people grouped up. I'm going to get myself burst out if I step up on this one. So even with that knowledge, though, Fnatic did look to be go aggressive there. They knew everybody was grouped, but they still wanted to go for it. I
mean, I think going for that fight would have been the absolute wrong mistake, because in these tight skirmishes, you have the Braum, Trundle with so much value. He's trying to get him resets. And again, Paulson hit that level 9 point. So his Qs are doing 25% extra damage to champions. That's just a humongous spike that you have to be so cautious about. So I think Fnatic Rising choosing to back off, stall things out, definitely favorable. And they have a massive lead in the jungle. Top lane is substantially ahead. Overall, it's a 1.7k gold lead. I think Fnatic Rising are kind of fine with how this game has gone. I think this is the issue, right? Trick pick these tools which give them the priority in the mid-jungle matchup. They have the priority in the bot matchup, but this is the problem that we kind of had earlier in the series when Fnatic was winning. It was like they had the tools, they just weren't using them, and Trick have tended to lean a bit more into the later stages, into the team fights.
Taxer actually did just deny Pride the plate there, as they spotted on the wall, so Pride stepped away, didn't want to go for that final auto attack, and while he shoved that additional wave in, didn't get that get that plate, but he did finish up the Divine Sundra. So first complete item along with Maxi, who's got that gore drinker now. Finished up for Fnatic Rising on these bases. So these two are very, very strong, and being has to be somewhat careful. A Lantern placed well could be a problem. You got the Tristana with the explosive charge, so this tower can take some serious damage here. The charge will be looking to break out. Bean, can he hold? He's got Taxer in the area. The dragon was secured by Fnatic, but at what cost? As they look for Denvoxney, they don't quite get him, but the Glacial Fissure comes down, and they are such a slippery bot lane. They do get 3 plates in answer here for Fnatic, for Tricks versus Fnatic. Fnatic, they've already taken 3 plates topside first anyway, so
yeah, I mean, it's
just
pretty
equalizes that score.
It's a pretty weak Herald overall. I mean, you get 3 plates. Herald gives 2 by standard. And the thing is, the lower health plates are the harder ones to take. You know, Denvoxney used his bomb to push in, and they couldn't really dive, right? They threw out CC, but Trick wouldn't even look at the dive, so not really much comes from that play. It's still the plates, right, that you would expect to get, but I think Trick definitely could have done more with that. And again, taking plates from the top lane tower, not nearly as valuable as taking plates on the mid lane tower. Yes, absolutely. And Dale's actually been able to take a plate on his own here on this Twisted Fate. So Fnatic, they're in a much better spot. I think this is the best they've looked in the last 3 games. Can they keep it up is the real question here. Madly, no ignite now, just rocking that teleport, and Pride able to do some pretty significant damage now. He's got the Sheen procs on the Divine Sundra. He's so close to getting the last plate. He wants it. Oh, he can't get it. And minions. You need the minions, mate. Yeah. Playing with fire there, but still, I mean, this has been a massive lead that Pride's been able to pick up. And the thing is with this matchup is, you know, Madly's benefit is that in team fights he'll be really strong. Yeah. But the 1v1 never gets better, right? In fact, I'd actually argue that late in the game, when if Pride itemizes to play in the side lane, he can actually really punish Madly. So those get a little bit scary. That being said, it's not too much AP from Fnatic Rising, so I think Madly can be pretty comfortable with building a lot of armor. That will help him with Bam. But even then, Pride does some magic damage with his W passive, so just a bit rough overall in the side lane. And Fnatic Rising can play a wide map state. They can play a 1-3-1. They have a Twisted Fate. It's perfectly comfortable there. And speaking of Twisted Fate, I'm trying to look for him, but I believe they're spotted on that ward just nearby. So Dio's very aware. Even Blue Trinket's just to doubly check and make sure. And now Fnatic Rising can clear up the vision and play for the second Herald. Oh, then Voxney can jump the wall, takes a little bit of damage there from Bean, and Ristel gets started up. Lucky in the area with the rest of the team, so we might have a bit of scrapping here. The big thing is Pride's currently in Gnar, so if he's going to pull the trigger, he has to pull it quick. That True Shot Barrage does serious amount of damage, and with the Narvar timing out, the Malphite didn't come down anyway, so Fnatic will be able to pick this up, and I would like to see this Herald used in the mid lane. It's been a very explosive series so far, but both teams have really put the brakes on in this game number 5. And it's chilling, right? It's game 5. You lose this, you lose you lose the whole NLC. So I kind of understand the teams being a little bit tentative about these plays. But overall, right, Fnatic leading dragons. Fnatic have this Herald in pocket. Another dragon coming up soon. I think they're feeling relatively comfortable, all things said. And they can obviously look to play towards this one. Big thing is going to be Madly's impact with his ultimate and also Pride getting Mega, I feel.
Yes.
But now, Fnatic Rising in a pretty decent spot. I kind of agree with you. Like, I mean, to an extent, the Herald mid's nice because it gets the mid tower low, but normally the reason that play works is because you use the first Herald mid and then the second one takes the tower, right? And I'm not sure they're going to be able to do that. They probably will use it mid just for the mid priority, the leaning to Dragon. Because they really don't need Pride.
Taking a lot of damage from Denvox. They flash, they Glacial Fissure, but he's able to jump away to safety. Flash and Glacial Fissure used. Pride just kind of walked out of that one. Did have to burn the flash himself, but he was... I don't know if he saw Denvox there or not. I know he's small, but like he was there.
He's got turret vision. It's not tunnel vision, it's turret vision. That's all he sees at the moment. And he was just looking for that first tower.
He's got Hullbreaker already hovered in the shop.
Literally. And now Trickter made the moves down. Yor has TP so he can answer, but this means Trickter 5 men strong sooner. They'll have control of the area. I think the Herald play is going to come out here. It forces Trick to respond. And that means that Fnatic Rising should be able to take control in the area.
Pride's actually going to gnaw out at the perfect time for this fight. Look at that bar. Dragon spawning up, and that could be a scary factor for Trick. The tower goes down finally. The first tower of the game as well. It's Pride not wanting to gnaw out too soon, so he's just holding off on it for the moment. But Dragon's going to get started, and Trick's going to step up forward. Bean's got his Divine Sunderer finished up, and both teams are edging in and out of vision. Fnatic don't really have complete dominance in that area as they actually send Dayor up into the mid lane to catch the wave and shove it. They're jumping in. Destiny's used. Maxi gets knocked away. The dragon secured. There's the knockup from the Rocks as everybody is pinned in place. A great goal card. This fight is what Fnatic need. Madly goes in a little bit too late. Bean forces Pulse in the flash. A true shot barrage. Absolutely rips through Tricked. A boulder toss onto Lucky. Just about goes wide as Maxi looks to hunt Madly down. But Madly gets the speed away from the seismic shard. And he is out of there. Fnatic, it could have been so much better for them. And Trick, honestly, licking their wounds as they walk away from that pit.
Yeah, I mean, it's what the dragon secured by Trick. That's the big thing. But I just have no idea how only one person died in that fight. Fnatic Rising, I mean, that looked like they just won it, right? That looked like it was clean and over. I think a big thing to note is that the engages were a little bit out of sync for Fnatic. So we had the quickness come in, and then there's like a delay, and then the Mega Gnaw. But still, it's a massive Mega Gnaw into the wall. But then I think one of the things is Dayor focuses all his damage on a Pulsar. When there are 4 members he could wildcards through. And I think if he hit all of them, Fnatic easily could have come out ahead in that fight by a substantial margin. But either way, Trick denied the dragon. Great. Trick also only lose 1 member. Great. They are really happy with the outcome of that one. But Axter, I'm not sure. I think you have to run through Rux here. I think, yeah, if you stay there, you're just dead.
Yeah, Rux is going to be able to find the knock-up as Madly comes in and actually able to save Tax's life. The tower is not going to be quite so fortunate as that goes down. Fnatic find their second tower. Gold lead at 3,000 right now. And Tricked, they're definitely not out of this game. But we need to see some proactivity from them. What won them their last 2 games was proactivity. But they are kind of just sitting back. They're scared. They know that this is the final game. This is basically a best of 1 at this point. And they're just kind of letting Fnatic do what they please right now. Fnatic definitely not being quite as decisive themselves. But Trick's been very passive.
Yeah, I mean, they've just been playing it slow and...
They've got the charm. They've got the knockback Pulsar underneath the tower. He goes as Pride should be able to finish him up. The unleashed power will be big as Maxi comes in at 1-for-1 so far. They've got the ultimate. They've got the lockdown. Maxi will lose his life. Trick's trade 2-for-1. There's that proactivity I wanted to see. Punishing Fnatic when they go for a play.
Yeah, I mean, Fnatic just overcommit onto that one on a pulse, and it takes so long for him to go down. And again, Fnatic Rising don't have their full team there, right? There was no TF available, even with the Destiny is not in range. And so it's an easy win for Tricked on that one. Able just to TP in and finish that one out. And that's even with likes of Madly not using his ultimate there.
Well, we'll see the replay again. Is they find the lockdown, but there's just unable to get that. I believe there's a Guardian shield onto Polson. That's what kept him alive. There we go. I was wondering where he got shielded from.
Yeah, and I mean, he just survives for so long. The team gets a chance to come in. Madly still has his ult available, so there's no way the rest of the team can step up. And it's just Fnatic committing to a play where they don't have the numbers advantage. And this is something I praised them for in game 1 and 2, was it felt like they constantly brought more members to a fight or an objective, and they were easily able to capitalize. And it just feels like over the course of the series, they've kind of been slacking a bit on that. They feel a bit disjointed. And it's like, instead of setting up plays, they're jumping at windows, right? And they keep just like crashing into walls instead. It just feels like they keep, like, they see someone, they're like, oh, let's kill him, let's kill him. It's like, if you don't set it up correctly, you're just going to end up getting punished.
Yeah. And that's what's been happening is, again, numbers advantage. She talked about that. Going to be breaking out as Rux does try and look for a quickness onto Demvoxing, but Demvoxing has the space to buy, and here's the teleport, here's the turnaround. Look for Madly over the wall with that force. The True Shot barrage hits, but 2 people are knocked up already. Rux is jumping out of the quickness, and Dayor going to be sacrificed, thrown to the wolves. As now Pride on the wrong side of his team is pretty tanky, however, and Fnatic, you literally just said they need to set up for these kills, not just take them when they see them.
Yep.
That's exactly what just happened there.
It very much felt like that situation again, and Madly flies in, the Malphite ult, the immobile target, which is the TF. I mean, Rux actually managed to get away, but the TF had no way of getting out, and one shulted, you just down. And again, Fnatic Rising, they should be playing the numbers advantage, the wide map spate, using things like the Destiny, and bursting out targets quickly, because it's really hard for them to win against Tricked if you just sort of play the straight 5v5 without really good execution from things like Pride on the Snar. And now 10 seconds on that Dragon, Fnatic trying to set up for it, and they do have Dayor TPing in, but Tricked are trying to force into the river. Remember, Pride still quite a bit away from having Mega right now.
Yeah, he not out fairly recently.
But no
looking
Malphite ult.
for it, but he's got the pillar on top of him. He can jump over the wall to safety. Scatter of the Week doesn't hit anyone. They honest to find a good gold tar target, and it is going to be one for the moment as they find themselves on knock-up. Fnatic looking for this fight. Pride about to gnaw out. This could be scary. Destiny is on. Can they find a great flank? It's going to get used here, and it may just be Madly who eats the gold card, but the Unstoppable Force is on cooldown now, which is a pretty big tool as Pride in Mega Gnar. So it might be a little bit too scary, but Tricked are not, they don't give a damn. They're looking to go for it. They're just going to look for the wallop, the slam into the wall as they look for Madly, but he can't really do too much, but he's able to. Going to be going down to the auto attack from Polson, and Beans trying to fire off the damage, but Fnatic are losing members left, right, and center. Polson forced his beat to flash away. The burn may just be enough as Pride gets turned onto, and Demvoxing jumps in forward. The True Shot barrage won't even hit. Fnatic are just so scattered in this game number 5.
It just feels really hard for them to approach these fights in the 5v5. The front line is so tanky, the back line is so consistent, and Lucky is the wall that separates them. His Unbreakable means Fnatic Rising really struggle to challenge to move forwards, and Trick just, it was a little bit of a scattered one, but bear in mind, once again, this is them without the Malphite ult winning a fight, right? It's kind of crazy to think of that, and Dayor just ends up stepping up too far forwards, gets kind of picked apart, and then we see Polson finds this window onto Bean, and just off the R on the scatter without even the stun, nearly just 100 zeros him, and it just feels like it's so hard for Fnatic to approach these ones. Tricked have the easy comp to execute. They have the straightforwards front to back with the hard engage. Fnatic Rising need to play the map wide, and it just feels like they keep getting baited into these fights.
To me, what I found really questionable of that fight was Madly had ulted to safety. They knew that. They saw it with the Destiny. But they still decided to focus him when, honestly, his threat had kind of been evaporated off that. And Pride at that time had Flash. He had Gnar. He could have probably got a couple of the Trick members, if not the whole team who were grouped, with his own Gnar. And that fight could have been very different because the front line wasn't that threatening anymore.
Yeah, honestly. I mean, again, if you don't deal with a Trundle, he can sometimes run amok in your team, but it's not really comparable to like a Tristana and a Syndra. And I mean, this play just isn't going to work, right? You Destiny in, you gold card a Braum. Cool. Right. Good job. Let's go to the next play.
cooldown reduction's not so bad for him. He's already lost.
Yeah, which is going to come off cooldown quicker, Braum's Unbreakable or
yes,
the?
No, I totally get that. That's
the trick, guys. We got his Unbreakable.
It's an opportunistic ultimate.
Yeah, I am memeing a bit. Obviously, they were looking for that before they knew Taxa and Lucky were there, so credit to them for like sort of positioning off to the side and covering. But even so, it's just like they need to make something happen. Fnatic need to find one of these angles, and right now, both the Trick solo laners have TP, right?
Yeah.
You're not finding anything mid. This bot lane matchup, Pride does a lot of damage to Madley at this point, but Madley's actually pretty strong, so I think he's actually just immortal at this point. Yeah, I was hyping this up saying Pride will get to the point where you can kind of just split push against him. I'm not sure that's going to happen. He can obviously threaten the tower, yeah, but it's just Madley's a little bit too scary to cut through. And he's got
the cleaver, so he does have tools to cut through him. But I do agree, it's definitely going to slow down now for Pride on the side lane.
I mean, Madley just walks up and clears the wave, and again, if you overstep his Pride and get ulted, you're just dead, right? Yes. If Trick has backup. And I want to highlight the item difference between AD carries.
Yeah. Oh. Yeah. Oh, boy.
That's an Ai and then Voxnate. He's a level up. Olsen's a level up. You know, they have a Braum as well to apply that passive for the Tristana. Tristana's 2,500 gold in advantage. And again, with Ezreal, this is like a spike, right? 2 items is a big spike for Ezreal.
Oh. Gets the gold card off, and I think that should be him nice and safe. He can probably buy some time. Gets the Everfrost. Here comes Rux, actually. The Unleashed Power does land, but Rux finds himself the pick. Shut down for Dayor. Forces Taxa to flash, and Fnatic, just like that, pull the trigger. They're going to teleport in madly, but it's already too late. You have lost your mid laner, and Taxa has to be very, very careful. Is going to be able to get underneath his tower to safety in time. As Pride stepping up a little bit here. They're going to back away.
And I should be able to get this tier 2 tower. It is something, but I feel like this was kind of the back of Trick making a mistake, right?
Yes.
I feel like less so than Fnatic finding a good level of proactivity. But regardless, they get that little bit of pressure. They get some gold. And it's now 40 seconds on that dragon, which, you know, it's been this way for a while, but it would be their third and move them towards that Ocean Soul. But Paulson is going to be alive and back on the map in time.
I'm going to be honest with you, Orcs. If Fnatic start to stack these Ocean Dragons, 4 Ocean Soul, they're going to have a lot of sustain. They're going to be quite hard to kill in longer fights. And once the Grudge comes through for Bean, he's obviously going to be able to slow and kite for the team. They're a very slippery team in a lot of areas. They are really the only one who's, you know, immobile and fairly easy to punish in that sense.
Yeah, but I think that's the problem is that, like, that's great, but the second you use a bit of mobility, Malphite's just waiting. And Madly's just tanky enough to kind of look for it. We need a big ult from Pride. That's what I'm hoping for here if Fnatic Rise is going to come out ahead. Otherwise, I think Trick should have this one pretty comfortably. We do see Pride backed up on Mega looking for the flank.
Oh, look at that cluster. They are all grouped up. Dayor's come in as well. They've got that flank and they're going to zone him away. Maxi jumps in, forces Voxney away. Lockdown onto Madly. Bean actually doing some serious damage as Pride gnaws out. Can he find an opportunistic target? Can he find that opening the team need him to find? It looks like the answer is going to be no, because the Narbar's going to time out, and this is now Trick's chance. They're the team with the advantage, and a great pillar means Maxi may find himself isolated. Gold card lands in, and Rux is now the one flanking. He has the quickness. He knows he hasn't been spotted, and everyone's low, but the knock-up doesn't quite hit. The free-man force comes in from Madly. Bean's able to shift away. They find themselves shut down. The jungler's already dead. Dayor tries to jump away for the moment. Gold card onto Madly. The poke is starting to stack up, but they don't have a jungle, and they don't have a smite. And the dragon is secured. Rux jumps in forward. The true shot Ross forces Madly to flash away. But at the end of the day, Trick to the team who come out for the better as Pride eats a scatter the weak on the tail end. Fnatic. This is going to be scarier than ever. 3 dragons for Trick. 3 ocean dragons for Trick. The sustain is already going to be big.
Yep. I mean, if they get Soul, it's just so hard to play. It's so hard to play. I think the big thing for me is you have Mega now. And I talked about this earlier, right? you have your hard engage into the Rakan. You need to sync that with the Mega Gnar. Why is Rux engaging after the Mega Gnar's gone? And also, he had his flash available. Commit to the play there. Fully commit to the play. Look for the engage on the back line. And again, you need to do this when Mega Gnar is available. You shouldn't be sitting there waiting until Mega Gnar is down and then going, oh, well, I guess now it's my turn to engage. No, you should be engaging with the Mega Gnar. Rakan is so good at forcing these fights. That's how you find the favorable advantage. Because I think if you play it like that, it's a no-brainer that you're going to lose. That's the power of the Malphite compared to the Gnar. Malphite just goes, I want to engage, I press R, rock go boom.
Yeah, pretty much. We'll see if Fnatic can find that punish, because Bean did do a great job of setting up for that fight. He was doing a lot of poke on the Ezreal, slowly building it up. Fnatic still not been able to take this tower. Has been so detrimental to them. His Pride might find himself in trouble. He looks at Denbox. He goes in for the slam. The Scalaway comes down. Pride flashes away. The teleports are coming in. And Fnatic now, they have to run. They've lost their top laner. And they just have to bolt away as Trick looks to hunt them down. They've got the blast cone. They can buy the space necessary. But Maxi running onto the other side of the map as Dayor going to join up with the rest of the team. Baron may just get started here. And Bean can look to try and poke, but no true shot barrage available. And I think this is just going to be Baron. It's so quick. They have no answer to this.
It's gone. I mean, Malphite ult's still up. There's no way you'd be able to approach. And things are looking dire for Fnatic Rising. The goal lead isn't that big, but you can just see these fights are set up for them. It just feels like Fnatic Rising aren't capable of finding the engages. And if they don't, Trick's composition benefits in these slower paced front to backs is really easy sailing. You just kind of sit there and have the Roxanne auto attack people. He's now level 16, 2 levels up on Bean, working on his 4th item, pretty close to getting it. He is scarily strong. I think he's actually going to reset off this wave and will have it, which will be the Bloodthirster, I believe. Yeah, so now an even harder target to take down. He just shreds everyone. Just absolutely shreds everyone on the enemy team. And if they can't answer him, level 17 now. He's 3 levels up on Bean.
Yeah, and it's something I hit on in the first game. Was I was saying Fnatic looks so put together. It looks like they figured themselves out, and then in the space of 2 games, they just got overconfident and crumbled in that game 3.
They made a dark pact to reverse sweep Singularity, and they are paying for it right now.
Yeah. The devil has cashed in, and it looks like it's time to pay that bill. The True Shot Barrage will do a fair amount of damage to Pulsum, but very little to the wave, as Dayor on the other side of the map is going to Destiny to safety because he can't stay any longer because he'd die.
Yeah, he's playing 2 lanes though. And, you know, we did talk about the 1-3-1 potential of Fnatic Rising. This is a win con. We've seen Fnatic go for those wild, wacky backdoor attempts before. This is another game where it feels like they cannot win team fights, right? We saw that against Trick the first time round. Where Fnatic Rising were like, okay, we can't win fights. We have to go for these side lane plays. Yeah. I think they are at this point. I think they are firmly at this point where I don't see them winning fights. So we got to see what they can do. Right now, it's 50 seconds from an Ocean Soul. Looks like they're going to try this one. But again, I mean, if they're going to win it, I want to see Rux and Pride in sync. Have the Mega, have the engage from the Rakan, sync them together. Kill Roxanne. That's the game plan. But he does have stopwatch. Syndra has stopwatch. It's definitely going to make it hard.
I mean, did you see that E damage? That was like 2 or 3 auto attacks on that E. It just did so much damage to Rux. He melts anyone, and there's not really anyone who can absorb all that damage. Is Fnatic first in the area, but Tricks are just able to bully their way through. Level 17 Denvox near. They do look for Taxa, or at least a little bit of poke into Taxa. But when Madly's about, you've got to be very, very careful. Cheeky little gold card onto Madly, and it pops the shield.
Oh my god, he's immortal.
He is actually so tanky. Now, there's the Destiny. Pride about to gnar out. Question is Dayor forced to flash, but the Unleashed Power, I guess, was used. There's the Glacial Fissure. Maxi once again decides to start the Dragon when they're really not set up to do it.
You have to engage now.
But Pride needs to go in. Yes, absolutely. Here comes Rux. They're going in. They find the knockup. That's the one-bow combo. Can they get it off in time? Stopwatch has been used to get the knock back for the moment. Bean kiting away. There's the scan of the weed. Demvoxy's on a killing spree. Demvoxy's still alive. He's untouched. Maxi tries to kill Lucky, and he will be able to answer out, but he will lose his life in response. And now Demvoxy can find Bean with the Buster Shot. The gold cards are locking them in places. The teleports are coming in for the backup, and Maxi is down. Demvoxy is resetting, and Fnatic Rising are falling apart. This is going to be the ace for Tricked. Fnatic are wiped from the Rift.
This may just be the end. It's only Bean left alive, and you could see Fnatic Rising. They try to approach the fight, they try to engage, but they can't take down Demvoxy. They're pushing up mid, and this should just be it.
He didn't even need to use the stopwatch. Demvoxy was untouched. The target selection from Fnatic was just not enough. The True Shot Barrage will barely chip away at Trick's health bars as they go for a glory kill onto Bean. Fnatic Rising fall as Tricked take the NLC. They are your champions.
And for the first time ever, it's not an academy team.
Yeah.
And Tricked, they didn't even drop to the losers bracket. They beat Fnatic once, they beat Fnatic again. Definitely down the wire, having a reverse sweep, but a convincing one. And I think the thing is, Tricked have a style. They rely on their backline carries. They rely on Demvoxy and Paulson. It has worked for them, and it has worked for them here. And it just felt like, especially in that game 5, they could not handle the team fight. Fnatic Rising could not deal with a team fight prowess, and it's a well-deserved victory for Tricked.
It really was. To turn what was a horrible start to the series into a reverse sweep, Tricked played absolutely incredible here today. They recognize who to play around, which is Demvoxy. If Demvoxy's on your team, you play around Demvoxy because the guy is incredible at his role. But that was the Tricked reverse sweep, and that is now Tricked as the grand champions of the NLC. And like you rightly said, Orcs, the first time we've not had an academy team be our champions, and they're through to the group stages of the European Masters. Fnatic, once again, for the second time this year, will have to play through play-ins. Last time they were knocked out. Anyway, we're going to pass it over to our analyst desk to break down this Tricked victory and them taking the title. So, Scoundrel, over to you.